The text message from Uncle Roberto arrived at 3:47 p.m. on December 20th, just as I was finishing my afternoon briefing at the federal building. The day had been routine. Compliance audits, financial analysis, quiet work that never made headlines but kept corporations honest. I was ready to shut down my computer when the phone buzzed. I read the message once. Then again, "You're banned from our prestigious Christmas party. Security guards have your photo. Martinez and Associates doesn't need family embarrassments at our most important client event of the year." I sat motionless in my government-issued sedan, the stale air of the underground parking garage pressing in. My first instinct was to laugh. Then I realized he wasn't joking. Roberto Martinez never joked about his firm. I typed one word in reply. Understood. For 4 years, since I'd graduated from Georgetown Law and taken a federal position, my uncle's firm had treated me like a cautionary tale. Martinez and Associates, founded, built, and worshipped by Roberto, was one of the city's most powerful corporate law firms. White-collar defense, compliance, insider trading cases, the kind of clients who paid retainers the size of government budgets. In his world, success meant billable hours and partnership tracks. In mine, success meant integrity, evidence, and quiet results. To him, my decision to work in government was professional suicide. My cousin Diego reminded me of that every Thanksgiving. First-year associates at the firm make more than government lawyers ever will, he liked to say, smiling the way rich men smile when they want you to know they're winning. So no, the ban didn't surprise me. But the part about security guards having my photo, that did. That was new. I drove home to my one-bedroom apartment in Arlington, the same place I'd rented since law school. My family assumed it was because I couldn't afford anything better. The truth was more complicated. Federal employees working financial crimes weren't allowed lavish lifestyles. Flashy cars, expensive watches, designer suits, those were red flags in my line of work. Conspicuous consumption raised questions about your income sources, questions that could compromise investigations or get you killed. The apartment was plain. Neutral walls, government-issue furniture, one window overlooking a narrow street. But it was safe. And safe mattered more than luxury. At 7:30 that evening, I sat on my couch reviewing case files when my secure phone buzzed. Only one group had that number. Martinez, I answered. Agent Martinez, said a familiar voice. Patricia Wong, we have a situation. My posture straightened automatically. Wong was my section chief, sharp, composed, and allergic to wasted words. The Castellano investigation just accelerated, she said. We need you at the Meridian Tower, 35th floor. Martinez and Associates Christmas party. I froze. Say that again? You heard me. The firm's party, my heart sank. I'm not exactly welcome there. Why not? Family complications? There was a pause. Then Wong's voice hardened. This is operational priority. Castellano's money laundering network has been funneling cash through high-end law firms for 2 years. Tonight's event is cover for a major transfer. We need eyes and ears inside. I looked at the case files on the table. The Castellano network, an intricate web of shell corporations, offshore accounts, and professional enablers. I'd been tracking fragments of their transactions for months. My eyes drifted to the closet, where a single black dress hung. The one I'd bought for law school graduation and never worn since. What's my cover? I asked quietly. You're exactly who you are, Wong said. Sophia Martinez, JD from Georgetown working in government. Let them make their own assumptions. My uncle has security guards with my photo, instructed to keep me out. Then flash your credentials. Bureau IDs tend to be persuasive. Her tone left no room for argument. An hour later, I stood outside the Meridian Tower in that same black dress and discount heels, clutching my federal ID in one hand and my phone in the other. Snow flurries drifted down, melting on the pavement before they could stick. Through the glass doors, I saw everything my family valued. Designer suits, champagne glasses, perfect smiles. 500 guests, all polished and powerful. I called Roberto's office line. His assistant answered. This is Sophia, I said. I need to speak with my uncle. Mr. Martinez specifically instructed that you not be admitted to tonight's event. I understand. Please tell him I'm downstairs. I only need 2 minutes. 5 minutes later? The elevator doors opened and there he was, Uncle Roberto, in a tailored suit worth more than my car, flanked by 2 guards who looked like retired cops. Sophia, he said, his voice tight. I thought I made myself clear. You did, I said evenly. But I need to attend tonight's party. Absolutely not. We have CEOs, judges, the mayor's office. I can't have family drama disrupting business relationships I've spent decades building. One of the guards stepped forward. Sir, should we escort her out? Roberto lifted a hand. Sophia, I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings, but you made your choice when you took that government job. Tonight is about serious legal work, not charity cases. I reached into my coat pocket and held out my credentials. Special Agent Sophia Martinez, Financial Crimes Division, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The color drained from his face. FBI? He whispered. Confirmed, I said. And I need to attend your party on official business. Official business? Money laundering investigation. High-profile targets. Your cooperation would be appreciated. He stared at the badge like it might vanish if he blinked. You've been with the FBI for 4 years? Yes, since graduation. You never told us. Federal agents don't typically advertise their employment to civilian family members. The guards shifted uneasily. Roberto finally exhaled. Of course, yes, whatever the Bureau needs. Should I announce you differently? Just let me in, I said. Pretend I'm exactly who everyone thinks I am. The ballroom glittered like a palace. Crystal chandeliers hung low, scattering light across gold-draped tables and polished marble floors. A live quartet played near the stage, the sound crisp and calculated. Every detail screamed wealth control image. I stepped in slowly, scanning faces. Corporate elites, politicians, judges. Half the city's power network stood sipping champagne under my uncle's logo. A server offered me a glass. I declined. Agents never drink on duty. Near the stage, my cousin Diego laughed too loudly, surrounded by associates. Same perfect suit, same charm polished for clients. He spotted me almost instantly. His smile faltered, then froze into something polite but cold. Sophia, he said, walking over. I thought security was supposed to keep you out. Plans change, I said. Uncle Roberto's going to love this. I already spoke to him. He gave me a slow once-over, his gaze stopping on the badge clipped discreetly inside my clutch. What is this, a show? Trying to prove something? I'm here for work. His laugh was low and sharp. At a Christmas party? I leaned closer. Diego, tell me something. Who handles your offshore accounts for the Castellano Foundation? He blinked. What are you talking about? I've seen the filings. The timing, the transfers, it all routes through your Cayman branch. He straightened. You're making a mistake. Am I? Before he could answer, Uncle Roberto appeared behind him, his face composed but tight. Sophia, I see you found Diego. Yes, I said. We were just catching up. He looked from me to Diego, then back. Good, keep it civil. I always do. Roberto's smile didn't reach his eyes. We'll talk privately after dinner. Of course. He walked away. Diego followed, glancing back once with a look that was no longer irritation but concern. I moved toward the bar, pretending to check my phone. In reality, I was texting Patricia Wong inside. Confirm Castellano presence? The reply came fast. Castellano himself won't attend. His proxy will. Track movement near private dining area, northwest corner. I looked across the ballroom. Near the far side, 2 men stood apart from the crowd. One in a gray suit, one in navy. Both spoke softly, heads close. The gray suit handed over a small silver case, the kind used for drives or encrypted cards. I started walking, weaving through guests. Laughter, clinking glasses, polished lies. Every step closer, the music seemed to fade, my hearing narrowing to the rhythm of my own breathing. The man in navy turned slightly, revealing his profile. I recognized him instantly. Victor Hernandez, a senior accountant at Martinez and Associates. Public record listed him as head of international compliance. Internal data placed him at the center of at least 3 suspect transactions. He slipped the case into his jacket pocket, shook hands, and began moving toward the service corridor. I followed. Past the catering tables, through a door marked staff only, the music died completely. The hallway beyond was silent except for the hum of ventilation and distant footsteps. I walked quickly, heels soft on the tile. At the far end, Victor turned into a smaller conference room. I waited a few seconds, then pushed the door open. He looked up sharply. "This is a restricted area. So is your client's account activity." His eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" I flipped open my badge. "Special Agent Martinez, FBI." He hesitated, calculating. "You're Roberto's niece." "Yes." "Then you know this is a mistake." I stepped closer. "Mistakes don't hide encrypted transfers through Luxembourg." He smiled faintly. "You don't understand how this firm operates. Try me. You think you're here to expose something corrupt. But corruption isn't hidden in files or accounts. It's written into the structure. The partners, the clients, the system itself. You'll never clean it." I studied him. "Maybe not. But I can start with you." He exhaled, resigned. "You don't have the evidence." "Not yet," I said. "But I will." He turned toward the door. I reached for my phone to record, but before I could react, he moved fast, grabbing my wrist, twisting hard. The phone clattered to the floor. I struck back instinctively, elbowing his ribs. He stumbled but didn't let go. The door burst open. Diego stood there, eyes wide. "What the hell is going on?" Victor froze. I wrenched free, stepping back. "She's FBI," Victor said. "Your cousin's playing agent in your father's office." Diego looked from him to me, confusion breaking into panic. "Sophia, tell me this isn't real." "It's real," I said. "And you're in it, whether you knew or not." Roberto's voice came from behind him. "Enough." He entered slowly, his expression unreadable. 2 security guards followed, tense, unsure whose orders to follow. "Uncle," I said quietly, "your firm is being used to launder millions in illegal transfers. You can either cooperate or you can obstruct." He sighed, rubbing his temple. "Sophia, you've always been so dramatic. This isn't drama. It's evidence." He looked at Victor. "Leave us." Victor hesitated, then walked out, brushing past the guards. Roberto turned back to me. "You have no idea what you're walking into. These aren't criminals you can just arrest. They own senators, judges, foundations. You think the Bureau can protect you? Protection isn't what I came for." "Then what?" "Truth," he laughed once, a quiet sound without joy. "Truth doesn't pay rent. Maybe not. But lies destroy families." For a moment, the air between us felt heavy, charged. His jaw tightened, the mask of control cracking just enough for me to see the fear underneath. "Go back to your desk, Sophia," he said finally. "Forget this." I took a step forward. "I can't," he nodded slowly. "Then you'd better be ready for what comes next." The room emptied one heartbeat at a time. The guards lingered by the door until Roberto waved them away. Diego stood frozen, looking between us like a man who had stepped onto a moving train and realized too late he couldn't get off. Roberto moved behind the conference table, the same way he did in court, taking position where he controlled the narrative. He adjusted his cufflinks, looked up, and spoke in a voice that was calm but cold. "You think you're saving the world, Sophia. You think every transaction is a crime, every rich man guilty. You've forgotten what this country is built on." "I haven't," I said. "That's exactly why I do what I do." He leaned forward. "You're naive. Every deal this firm touches keeps thousands employed, keeps this city alive. The government plays its role. We play ours. Don't confuse legality with morality." I felt anger rising but kept my tone level. "You're rationalizing crime. I'm rationalizing survival." Diego finally spoke. "Dad, what's she talking about?" "Are you saying you actually— Enough!" Roberto snapped. Then softer. "Diego, not now." He turned back to me. "You're chasing a phantom case built on political motives. The Castellanos aren't saints, but they're not villains either. You expose them, you'll burn everyone in this room, including your family. I took a slow breath. The Bureau already has evidence. Tonight's exchange with Hernandez confirms a transfer of $43 million through Cayman intermediaries. You've got hours before subpoenas hit. For the first time, he looked unsteady. You went after my firm. I went after the truth. The silence stretched. Only the hum of the ceiling vent filled the room. Roberto's expression hardened again. You've crossed a line, Sophia. You're not family anymore. I met his gaze. Maybe I never was. I walked toward the door. Diego reached for my arm. Sophia, wait! There has to be another way. We can fix this. Not this time, I said. Get a lawyer. Not from your firm. I stepped into the hallway, leaving them behind. My pulse thudded in my ears. Outside, the party was still in full swing. Laughter, music, the illusion of success. None of them knew the building they stood in was already collapsing from the inside. I texted Wong again. Confirmed illegal transfer. Hernandez, Martinez, and Castellano connection verified. Proceeding with detainment protocols. Her reply came instantly. Understood. Units en route. Exit the building. I moved through the crowd quietly. Near the exit, I saw my aunt, Roberto's wife, talking with donors. Her eyes met mine, confused but kind. She didn't know. She never did. I walked past her and into the freezing night. Snow had started to fall harder, flakes melting on my hands as I unlocked my car. I sat inside, closed my eyes, and waited. 10 minutes later, sirens echoed faintly in the distance. By morning, every news channel in the city carried the story. Martinez and Associates under federal investigation. High-profile law firm linked to international laundering network. Reporters crowded outside the Meridian Tower. Photos of Roberto. Diego and Victor looped on screens. Headlines dissected every detail. I didn't go to the office that day. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee untouched, watching it all unfold. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Agent Martinez, a male voice said. You've made powerful enemies. Who is this? Someone who prefers his friends alive. The line went dead. I called Wong immediately. We have a leak. Someone made contact. Her voice was calm. We expected that. You'll have protection. I don't need protection. I need the truth out. And it will be. But understand this. Once you expose corruption at that level, there's no going back. You lose the family name, the comfort, the invitations. You live as a target, not a niece. I looked at the empty apartment around me. Then it's already done. That night, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Diego stood there. He looked older, exhausted. Can I come in? He asked. I nodded. He sat down, hands shaking slightly. They froze everything. The accounts, the firm, everything. Dad's under investigation. Victor's in custody. I didn't know it was this deep. I believe you, I said. I thought we were helping clients, protecting assets. I never saw the transfers. Dad kept me out of the real numbers. You wanted to believe him. He nodded. And I did. Until tonight, we sat in silence. Outside, sirens wailed again somewhere far off. He looked up finally. Why'd you do it, Sophia? You could have stayed quiet. You had nothing to gain. I thought about that for a long moment. Because when people like us stay quiet, nothing changes. The law means nothing if it only applies to the powerless. He lowered his head. He'll never forgive you. I know. But thank you, he said quietly, for forcing me to see what he really built. When he left, I stood by the window and watched his car disappear down the street. Snow kept falling, soft and endless, covering everything, the roads, the roofs, the scars. 3 weeks later, the Bureau closed the preliminary phase. Arrests were made. Funds recovered. A grand jury scheduled hearings for March. I received a formal commendation for integrity and service. It meant little. Wong stopped by my desk. You did good work, Martinez. Thanks, she studied me. You don't sound convinced. Families break easier than cases, I said. She nodded slowly. Then build a new one. That evening I drove to the riverfront. The city skyline shimmered in the distance. Somewhere in one of those towers, new deals were already being signed, new lies drafted, new crimes dressed as contracts. The cycle never really ended, but I had done my part. I pulled out my phone and deleted every old family message. Holiday photos, dinner plans, fake smiles. The screen went blank. Then I took a deep breath, started the car, and drove into the quiet streets of a city that never ran out of secrets. Winter faded into spring, but the city never thawed. Power didn't vanish. It simply changed hands. The same offices, the same towers, different names on the doors. Martinez and Associates had collapsed within weeks. Its partners scattered, some arrested, others vanished behind new entities with new branding. The Bureau called it a success. The media called it a reckoning. I called it a fracture that would never heal. I testified twice before the grand jury. Once about the Castellano transfers, once about the internal financial patterns at my uncle's firm. Each session ended with the same quiet walk down sterile hallways, the weight of truth pressing heavier than any lie I'd ever exposed. Roberto refused plea deals. He called the charges political. On the day of his trial, he stood before the court dressed in his perfect gray suit, the same one he'd worn at his firm's last gala. He didn't look at me. The prosecution laid out the evidence: emails, bank records, shell corporations. Every thread traced back to him. When it ended, his attorney argued he'd been unaware, that subordinates had betrayed his trust. It didn't matter. The jury didn't believe it. The verdict came after 6 hours. Guilty on all major counts. He didn't flinch when the judge read the sentence. 12 years, minimum security, white collar, but still prison. After the session, I waited outside the courthouse. I didn't know why. Maybe to see him one last time. When the marshals brought him out, he stopped briefly as our eyes met. No words, no gestures, just silence. Then he turned away and stepped into the van. That night, I drove back to the apartment and sat in the dark. The quiet felt heavier than usual. My badge lay on the table next to the news clippings I'd stopped reading. 2 months later, Wong called me into her office. "We're reassigning you," she said. "Task force expansion. Corporate fraud. International division. You'll lead a small team." "Where?" "Chicago," I hesitated. "Why me?" "Because you don't flinch," I nodded. "When do I leave?" "End of the week." She paused. "You did something hard, Martinez. Most agents wouldn't turn on their own blood." "I didn't turn on my family," I said. "I turned on corruption." Same thing sometimes. The move to Chicago was quiet. New office, new faces, same work. I kept my head down and my reports clean. Every case reminded me how power moved like water. It found cracks, seeped through walls, adapted faster than the system chasing it. Then one evening, as I was leaving the office, my phone rang. "Unknown number. Sophia," the voice said. "Male, familiar. Diego. I didn't know if you'd answer. Why are you calling?" He exhaled. "I've been trying to fix what's left. The house, the accounts. Mom barely speaks. She still thinks you destroyed everything. I didn't destroy it. I exposed it, I know. But she'll never see it that way." He paused. "Dad wanted me to tell you something. From prison. I'm listening," he said. "Tell her she was right. And tell her I'm proud of her, even if I can't forgive her." I said nothing. "I think he means it," Diego added. "He's different, quieter. He reads all day. He teaches other inmates about law." Stared out the office window at the lights reflecting, off the Chicago River. Maybe he finally understands what law was supposed to mean? Maybe. He hesitated again. "You ever think about coming home?" "There's no home left," I said softly. "Only work," he sighed. "Then stay safe. You too." The call ended. I sat there for a long time, the phone still in my hand, listening to the low hum of the city. That weekend, I drove to Lake Michigan before dawn. The air was sharp, clean. I stood at the edge of the water, hands in my coat pockets, watching the horizon fade from gray to pale gold. For the first time in months, I let myself breathe without thinking about what came next. The Bureau would send new files soon. Another case, another system to unravel. But at that moment, I allowed silence to exist. Truth had a cost. It took names, homes, memories, but it also cleared the fog. It showed what was real. I turned away from the water and walked back toward my car. As I drove off, my phone buzzed again. A message from Wang Newlead, offshore network connected to a private equity group. Possible link to former Castellano contacts. You in? I smiled faintly. Always. The city rose ahead of me, alive and cold. Somewhere behind its glass walls, another secret waited. Another story buried under layers of money and law, and I was ready to dig again.